All right, everybody, welcome back to the Marine Corps Movie Minute, where we're discussing the movies of the Marine Corps 1 minute at a time. Today, we've reached minute 100 of Heartbreak Ridge. With me today to discuss minute 100 is my buddy Perry.
Hey, everybody.
And of course, I'm Brian.
Hi, Billy.
Hey, everybody. All right, well, this minute begins with a helicopter ride, and it ends with a phone call.
Yeah, very shocked look on a certain somebody's face. Or it was shocked or pissed off. I'm not really sure which one yet. Probably a little bit of both.
A little bit of both, baby. All I can think of is hello. Do you read me? No.
Yeah, they're well, I guess we'll get into that, but I thought their radio etiquette wasn't probably the strongest for a bunch of Marines in a combat environment.
Yeah, like I said, it's a phone call.
It's a phone call.
It doesn't seem like it's calm talk. It's a chat, a chit chat between old friends, old buddies. But we'll get there.
Yeah.
Before we get there, though, we get there via helicopter.
Yeah.
See how I segued that?
I see how you slightly slipped that in.
Yeah, well, I mean, we literally open with a shot of a helicopter.
Continuation from the last scene.
Yeah, really, because it's over the water, and we cut to our Marine actors, I should say our actors playing Marines.
Yeah.
We don't actually see any other Marines other than our actors at this point.
It's just the principals. They didn't even do a smattering or not even a second helicopter. It was like they can only afford one helicopter and everybody's going to be in a scene. You're going to be pretending to be riding in this thing because we know it didn't happen. They actually didn't take a helicopter.
Yeah, and it comes up. I think you and I mentioned it, or it comes up. Actually, it'll come up in the future, and I'm not sure if we mentioned it even in the past at this point. But throughout the whole training sequences, there's tons of Marines all over the place, real life Marines. But once they get to Grenada, we don't really see those real life Marines per se anymore. Now, my theory on that is, well, we want to focus on the small team of our actors that we've got to know and love. We don't care what Towel Guy's doing during the grenade invasion.
Yeah.
I mean, I care, but also they did go to Puerto Rico to film this, so they probably weren't going to bring a bunch of Marines with them to film in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, probably not. Well, unless they were doing like did an exercise, use that opportunity for some training.
Well, I guarantee that most of this stuff here, because what we get is an amphibious assault, an amphibious landing in this minute, and I bet you most of that was filmed in California.
I'm gonna say probably it's possible, but probably not because there aren't that many trees in Southern California right next to the water like that, unless they found a spot. But even then, like all the palm trees are, I believe they're all transplanted. Like they're not native to California. All those were brought in from someplace else.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of. So I'm thinking that. I mean, I don't know. I don't know that because a lot of the Southern California coastline it's pretty, not to say desolate, but it's not as lush as this.
Well, this was in the 80s before all the wildfires destroyed all the trees when you were there.
Well, even then.
Yeah,
asshole. You're really sticking to your guns on this, aren't you?
Well, the reason I said it, when you see the, I guess the AAVs, I guess is what they are. I have it written down somewhere. Yeah, the AAVs. When you see them landing, it's more of a tighter shot of the beach and the water, so you don't really see the background of the trees as much as you do when it's clearly them in like Puerto Rico storming the beach. The reason I mentioned that is, and I'll get into this in a minute, I found a video on YouTube which was like a 2013 training exercise at Pendleton, I think, where they were doing an amphibious landing, and it was like it almost looked like this this movie. Yeah. I'm not saying the background was. It was like, oh wow.
It looks a lot like this. Yep.
Yeah. So it made me think, well, maybe they probably just filmed this locally, and then but all the stuff with the Marines in the jungle, it's really Puerto Rico.
Those well, when I was out at Pendleton, those the hovercraft were out there all the time. Like you would see them; they'd come up on the beach all the time, and there's a highway separating the beach from Pendleton.
Tom Highway?
Yeah, just standing there pointing and directing.
Right. He's separated. He's holding it back, like separating to the beach.
He's directing traffic.
He's doing row guard. He's out there with his yellow vest and he's holding his hand up. And
Yeah.
our old lieutenant colonel is going to run him over because he doesn't know he's supposed to stop.
Beep beep.
Out of my way, Gunny.
You know what though? I'm not gonna call into question our friend of the show, Pete Koch, but he mentioned that they didn't really fly much in the helicopter, but in the scene that they've got, they're actually moving over the water at a pretty good pace. Now, not very high, but they are moving pretty high or pretty fast. Looks like.
Yeah, that caught my eye, and I was trying to justify. First off, I know he talked about. He did say that those were real Marines jumping into the water.
Yeah.
Like they just filmed them above, basically they just hovered up above a little bit, and they really.
Mhm.
I swear I thought at one point, and I can't remember if he told us or in a different interview I saw,
Right.
where he was saying they just did a couple passes. That being said, I'm trying to think. I'm like, is this movie magic or did they literally just make one pass? Most of the shots may have just been them going up, hovering a little bit, going back and forth, hovering back down.
I'm up, he sees me, I'm down.
Yeah, kind of. What I do think is, to kind of defend his position,
Mhm.
they didn't, they show I'm watching this minute and you see this helicopter clearly in the middle of the water and they're dropping real Marines into the water.
Yeah, they don't even look like the actors at
They
all.
didn't do that. They may have just gone up and just went back and forth real quick, got a couple shots, and boom, they're back down.
Yeah.
So, it may have just been him kind of saying, like, we didn't really do everything that like, they didn't take us out to the middle of the water basically just to film that. No, that was something separate. They just hovered up above a little bit. Plus, I was trying to like, I'm like, well, is there like camera tricks they could have used to make it look like it's, movement? But
Yeah.
at the same time, it does seem like they did. It does look legit, authentic that they. But I swear, at some point, heard him say, and I just can't remember them going back and forth. So
Yeah.
yeah, just real quick, because again, but I mean, also too, there's a scene where they're jumping out of the back of the helicopter for parachuting, and that was just they were just on the ground getting rocked. So there's a lot of different helicopter scenes that they were in basically that was a little different. But anyways, yeah, I've trailed off with that.
Don't worry, brother. I've done the same thing.
It's like yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, so the beginning of the shot, this movie, like you said, this minute we got the helicopter. We get a shot of we get both sides of the helicopter from a different angle, and we see, I think it's Aponte, Swede, Quiones, and Stitch.
Mhm.
And I wrote together again. If you notice, Swede and Quiones are sitting next to each other.
Yeah.
And I've said, like, I knew there was more scenes where I'm like, they're together again. Like,
Yeah.
so there definitely seemed to be, sounds like it wasn't planned, but it just seemed big guy, little guy, the littlest guy in the platoon and the biggest guy in the platoon are kind of teaming up together. So
You know what I'm wondering too is if maybe they did that to kind of illustrate how big the Swede is. So if you put him next to smaller people, he's just going to look that much bigger and more impressive.
that's true. But I also do wonder if it's just a little, some of it could be a little bit coincidence because
Yeah.
as Pete explained to us about the pit fight, when we pointed that out, they just happen to be kind of fighting in that same area, a lot of their scenes, and
Yeah.
they kind of like, well, let's do an actor thing, but but I have noticed that, and maybe
They're
I'm reading into it
together a
because I
lot.
want. Right, I
Yeah.
want to see it because
Yeah.
I noticed it, so I'm like, oh, here it is again. Here's more evidence to prove I'm right.
Yeah. Confirmation bias.
Yeah.
Oh well, I think you're right because I mean you pointed out, and I've got to where I'm looking for it too now as well. So
Yeah. So then on the other side, though, we got Fregetti, Profile, Collins, and Lieutenant Ring.
yep,
Gunny is in the middle, of course, and he tap 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 taps on the back of Lieutenant Ring, and he goes, glasses.
glasses. Yeah, so they don't fall off his face.
Right. Lieutenant Ring nods, and he's got like it seems like he's got the band on, like a sports band on, because he starts
Mhm.
messing with it to take it off. And I like to think that wasn't a Lieutenant Ring thing. It's like Clint Eastwood was like, "Hey, Boyd, you left your glasses on for this scene. We're about to get in the water." But
You'll
no, I
lose
mean,
them.
yeah, literally right after that, you get he taps Gunny taps the shoulder of Aponte and says, "Get ready."
Yeah.
And then Keonis looks over his shoulder and nods like in not agreement, but like acknowledgement.
Yeah, so I'm wondering how much of that was studied, like military doctrine, like disembarking from a moving helicopter into water. Like how much of that is like, yeah, they're a consultant or whatever that says, yeah, this is what you would do in this situation. You're the senior guy in the plane. You check them, make sure, and then you have them. You let them know. Like I wonder how much of that, because we never jumped out of helicopters. We never fell out of a helicopter. Hell, we never even rode in a helicopter, or I
Now,
didn't.
the closest I came to doing anything with a helicopter is in boot camp. I got to lead the landing. You know, when you do the fake landing.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And I was the first guy off. I got to land, call everybody out. It was pretty cool, but
yeah. You had to sit there and stomp your feet for a couple minutes, and then run
yeah,
out and make a big
yeah,
ring, and then
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, where you do you what is it was like a landing zone perimeter or something like that. I forget what
yep.
they call it, but yeah. So that's about as close as I came to doing anything with a helicopter in my military service. Well, but they do a cut, and you see the Marines just jumping into the water. They
Yep.
just kind of push off and go in, and those are real Marines at that point. So the helicopters leaves, and then we get the AAVs arrive on the beach. I was kind of talking about this a minute ago. So I was like, I wanted to see what kind of vehicles these were. I was really curious. So I'm like, well, let me take a look. So I just did a quick Google search, and I found this YouTube video of like 2013 training for amphibious assault. And
Uh-huh.
I'm like, holy crap, those AAVs look identical to the ones in the movie. And I'm like, this is 2013. Well, what do you know?
It's the Marine Corps. It's probably the same vehicles that were used in the movie.
That is correct. Well, I don't know if it's exactly the ones in the movie.
Wouldn't surprise me at all.
Right. The AAVs were in service from 1972 to present. And sure enough, it says it was used in multiple wars such as the Lebanese Civil War, Falkland Islands, Grenada, Persian Gulf, Somalia, and Iraq.
Huh.
So it's actually an AAV is the Assault Amphibious Vehicle.
Hmm.
AAV official designation is AAVP-77A1, formerly known as a Landing Vehicle Track Personnel 7, LVTP-7. It's a fully tracked amphibious landing vehicle manufactured by Combat Systems, and it was. Although in 2018, the Marine Corps announced that they had selected a new system, a Super AV or amphibious combat vehicle.
Hmm.
But yeah, they're still in use, and it was basically its current amphibious troop transport of the United States Marine Corps, used as it is used by the U.S. Marine Corps assault amphibian battalions to land the surface assault elements of the landing force and their equipment in a single lift from assault shipping during amphibious operations to inland objectives and conduct mechanized operations and related combat support and subsequent mechanized operations ashore. It is also operated by other forces. Marines call them Amtraks, a shortening of the original designation, which is the amphibious track.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense because that's what we used to call them.
Yeah, and it's still
LAVs were the other ones with the wheeled,
yeah,
the
yeah,
light
and
armored vehicles, and then the Amtraks is what we would call the other ones. But we didn't see many Amtraks out on the East Coast. We saw LAVs sometimes at Lejeune.
yeah, we did. Yeah, we didn't.
I did.
But yeah, out maybe out in. Oh
we,
yeah,
we,
because
we would go to Lejeune, not at Cherry Point. Shit, no.
yeah, no. Well, actually, I found an article. Some guy was on. He was writing about this movie, and he was on base at the time, and he
Hmm.
specifically mentions. So when Gunny first gets on base, and he's walking down it looks like almost like a motor T or something like that.
Huh?
When and actually a lot of those Amtraks and all that are there, and they said it's basically like a kind of like a museum basically
Oh,
of
really?
yeah of when you walk up there. Wish yeah one scene in particular near the movie. Near it was as movie shows Eastwood as gun researcher Thomas Howey walking across a collection of amphibious landing vehicles, which were a sort of outdoor museum showing the evolution of such craft. That area was just a couple of the hundreds of yards from the barracks building where I was living at the time. This is just some this guy. I'll give him credit. It was the Fog of Ward blog, Dayton Ward, WordPress.com. New York Times bestselling author Dayton Ward, Digital Tree Fort, now with extra. And it was an article from 2011. Happy 20th anniversary, Heartbreak Ridge. And so he just kind of goes in. He was there when they were filming. He wasn't
Oh,
in
that's
any of
cool.
the scenes, but he was there. So yeah, so that's pretty neat. Let's see. Do I have anything else about the Amtrak's besides the fact that they look like Sergeant Slaughter's Warthog from GI Joe that I still own?
Yeah, I saw a lot of the Amtrak's the few times that I went to Pendleton, and I'm surprised you didn't see them when we went to Lejeune.
Dude, I could have ridden in one, and I just don't remember right
Remember?
now. Yeah,
Yeah,
because I mean, there's
yeah.
been plenty of times where I've gone into like the back gate area, and
Mhm.
they have all where they do all the field fires and the actual like fucking mortars firing and shit. And yeah, I'd see stuff out there from time to time, but
Yeah.
I just don't remember.
Do you remember were the tank crossing signs, were they at Lejeune, or was that one
Yeah,
of the times? Okay, so
no,
you
no,
okay.
yeah, no, I remember seeing those. Yeah,
Yeah, that was the first time I ever saw them. I was like, "What the hell?"
yeah, and I see the tanks,
Yeah,
when I go in that back way from time to time.
and I thought we had LEVs. I thought we had LEVs at Cherry Point, but not many. Most of them were all Humvees or trucks or
I'm
the
sure
dragon
some.
wagons.
Again, I don't recall. I don't know if any of the deployable battalions or anything like that.
Yeah, no, I didn't see. We didn't see them like riding around. I want to say that I remember seeing some there. They also had those the Humvees with the anti-air batteries on the back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those things are pretty cool. The little cockpit in the back for shooting down.
Second lad or something like that had those.
Yeah, yeah.
See, I actually do remember some shit, I guess.
Yeah. I'm watching all the face painting. You can definitely tell a Hollywood makeup artist didn't do the face painting on all those Marines. Each one is different. Some is better than the others. Some of them just smeared on.
Some
Others
of
look
it's
like
faded. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
You
So
could
it's
see,
like,
yeah, you could. Oh, actually, yeah, I had a little bit more about the AAVs and or the Amtrak's. So apparently they were renamed in 1984 to the AAV-7A1. It comes in three types: a personnel, which is the most common, and I think
mhm.
it has a 50 caliber turret, grenade launchers, and intercom system, and it carries about 25 combat equipped Marines plus four crew, driver, crew chief, vehicle commander, gunner, and a rear crew. Well, yeah. And then, but there's also a command one that doesn't have the turret. Much of the cargo space of the vehicle is occupied by communication equipment.
Okay.
And then there's a recovery one, which basically doesn't have a turret. And it's basically a wrecker, you know.
Oh,
uh,
really?
yeah. So just
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Well, the military likes to try and multi-purpose as much as possible, like on the same chassis.
yeah, it makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
it just makes sense. You would have multiple uses for that.
And they're not armored, right? That's all just an aluminum body.
Yeah, there was actually well, I guess I'm not sure how armored they are, but I did see an article that they were used in like I just named a whole bunch of wars that they were used in. They were perfectly fine. But apparently, when we got into one of the I think this is the most current Iraq situation, there
Hmm.
was a lot of criticism that they didn't offer the armor protection that a lot of the other similar vehicles did. So that's probably prompted the new version that the Marines going to be using, in the sure that they from 2018 that I'm.
Well, a lot of things people don't realize too is when you armor stuff, it's heavy. Heavy means slow. Slow means a bigger target. I
That's what they
guess.
were saying about the wrecker. The wrecker's much heavier, and you could tell which one it is because it sits lower in the water.
Oh, okay.
And that was I mean I don't want to get into basically put the Iraq and Afghanistan wars on trial here, but I do remember that criticism being levied at the time that a lot of like the Humvees didn't have the armor. Well, but like you said, there's a trade off in both protecting with the armor, but also weighing down and how whatever. But
Yeah.
I wasn't there, so I can't say. I'll let people who were actually there and be the judge of whether or not more armor on those vehicles is better or not. But I
Yeah.
just remember that being a conversation that was said, "Hey, we need to put more armor on." Well, more armor means heavier weight, so
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, yeah, roadside bombs weren't a big deal in the World War II. So
Well, right. I was gonna say, I mean that was a that's where things were a little bit different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, even they weren't dealing with that in Grenada either,
No,
so
nope, they were not.
right. So, I mean, yeah, totally. Like I said, I'm not going to speak on that. I'll let people who have actually been there and know what the hell they're talking about be the ones to educate me on that. But anyways, so what we'll find out later. But one of those Marines that is in those AAVs is Sergeant Major Chuzu.
Yeah, you're getting a little boat ride before the battle.
Yeah, so we see a bunch of them land, but that's a quick scene just to set that up, and we see the Marines kind of wading in shallow water to the beach. Got a couple Marines low crawling. Let me say that again. We got a couple of Marines low crawling up the beach.
Yeah, that would be recon.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. But then a quick shot of a few more of the recon guys running into the jungle. So
Yeah.
yeah, more shots of recon kind of making their way deeper, a little bit deeper into the jungle, into the tree line, basically.
Yeah.
Gunny grabs the radio from Profile and he calls over the radio to Chuzu, asking, "Do you read me? Chuzu, do you read me?"
Mhm. Yeah.
Chuzu comes back with, "Battalion wants your platoon to recon towards the university." And then, and then here's the best part is Gunny then Gunny says, "You stay low around Powers."
Yeah. Yeah. And Chuzu starts laughing like Muttley. You remember Snidely Whiplash
Yeah.
and dog? Yeah. That's when the
Yeah,
minute kicks off, and I'll belly laugh so hard when we watch this minute.
yeah, because he looks over, he kind of smirks, looks over his shoulder to see if Powers heard him, which he totally did because then Powers slowly turns around and looks over his shoulder as Yuzu goes back to the phone with a big shit-eating grin on his face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not like they're wearing a headset. Like that's being played out like over the air.
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious. But you know what that reminded me of is I felt like Powers should have been like, "I heard that."
Yeah.
Do you remember that show You Can't Do That on Television? The
I
Canadian?
sure do. Yep.
And all you can think of is whenever they insulted like Barf or one of those guys, he'd be like, "I heard that."
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was good stuff, man. I laughed so hard. I had to back it up, and just to me, that was one of the single funniest lines in context in the movie.
Yeah, that's again, this is another one of those instances where I'm like, I don't realize the humor that's there, but it's conveyed with little looks like Powers slow over the shoulder look of like, I heard that.
Just threatened to assassinate me.
And Chuzu just laughing like because we know Powers is incompetent.
Yeah.
You
He stayed lower on Powers.
yeah, so he's Gunny's showing some concern for his buddy.
Yeah. That was some good stuff.
Yeah. So that's the end of the minute. There's nothing else to go. But to me, it's a great way to end a minute on a nice laugh.
Yeah, it was a good one. It was perfect too because it like cut to commercial break.
Yeah.
Right there was no half-ass line started, nothing. It was just Chuzu's the grin on his face. And he's about to say something charming, I'm sure.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
So, do you got anything else you want to cover on this minute?
No, man. I think there wasn't really a whole lot. It's like it's set up for, like the next few minutes. I guess he's got his Gunny's highway or Gunny Highway's got his mission now, so just a big setup to show the scale of the invasion, I guess, of Grenada and all that good stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah, this is the actual, landing part. We joked before the preceding minutes were more of a Marine Corps recruiting commercial.
Yeah.
And now we're getting into the action wars part of the movie war part, not the propaganda commercial. So it should be fun, and of course we already got some laughs for it. Yeah, I don't have anything else, so just ask everybody. Please join us on Wednesday and continue on this. See if there's any fallout from this phone conversation.
Yeah.
And of course, if anybody wants to give us a follow on Instagram, Marine Corps Movie Minute Pod on Instagram. we'd like that. But other than that, Perry, just hey, just do me a favor, just keep your head down around.
My wife.
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry, baby.